The stars had been quiet for 300 years, and the galaxy liked it that way. Commander Hyan-Woo pressed his face against the cold viewport of his patrol ship. Watching the endless darkness of space, his crew had been assigned to the dead. Zones the empty systems where nothing lived anymore. It was boring work, but someone had to make sure the ancient debris didn't drift into shipping lanes. "Sir, we're picking up something strange," called his navigator, a young officer named Ji-Sung. "There's an old beacon floating near the Sol system." Hyan-Woo sighed. Sol was the graveyard system, where the humans used to live before their sun. Tried to kill them. Everyone knew the story. 3 centuries ago, massive solar flares had burned their world. The humans had sent out desperate messages saying they were going underground, but no one had heard from them since. Most people assumed they were all dead. "It's another piece of junk," Hyan-Woo muttered, but he ordered the ship closer anyway. Regulations said they had to check all debris. The beacon was old and battered, covered in strange markings. Gae-soon ran it through the translation computer, which took several minutes to work through the ancient language files. "It's writing, sir," Ji-Sung said, his voice puzzled. "The message says temporary hibernation protocols engaged. Estimated revival time, 300 years. Do not disturb." Hyan-Woo laughed. "Hibernation. For 300 years? That's impossible. No species can sleep that long. Should we investigate the Sol system?" Ji-Sung asked. "No point," Hyan-Woo said, turning away from the viewport. "Dead is dead. File the report, and let's move on." As their ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the ancient beacon behind. Neither of them noticed the faint energy readings coming from the third planet in the Sol system, far below the surface of Earth. In a city that had never seen sunlight, machines hummed quietly in the darkness. The underground metropolis of New Seoul stretched for miles beneath the Korean peninsula, streets and buildings carved from solid rock. Similar cities existed under every continent, connected by massive tunnels that ran through the planets. Dr. Minho had been sleeping in his hibernation pod for exactly 301 years. For months and 16 days. He was the first to wake up because his job was to make sure everyone else could wake up safely. As his eyes opened, his first thought was simple. He was still alive. The medical displays around his pod showed green lights. His body was healthy. His mind was clear, and most importantly, the air outside his pod was breathable. He sat up slowly, feeling his muscles remember how to work after centuries of sleep. "Computer status report," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "Good morning, Dr. Minho," the AI replied in perfect Korean. "Atmospheric conditions have returned to safe levels. Surface radiation is within acceptable limits. All underground cities are operational. Shall I begin the awakening sequence for the next phase?" Minho stood up and walked to the main control room. The walls were covered with screens showing information from all over the planet. What he saw made him smile for the first time in 3 centuries. Earth was healing. The surface was still scarred from the solar storms, but plants were growing. Again, the oceans were clean. The air was pure. Their home was ready for them to return, but that wasn't the most amazing part. While humanity slept, their machines had kept working. The artificial intelligence systems they had built before the disaster had continued to research, to learn, to solve problems. The screens showed breakthrough after breakthrough in technology that should have been impossible. "Show me the energy reports," Minho said. The computer displayed charts that made his heart race. They had solved the energy crisis completely. Fusion reactors that could run for thousands of years. Solar collectors that could capture power from any star. Even better, they had learned to manipulate matter at the molecular level, turning waste into useful materials. "Transportation systems?" he asked. "Faster than light travel achieved," the computer reported. "No exotic matter required." "Travel time?" "To nearest star system. 4 hours." Minho sat down heavily in his chair. They had gone to sleep as a species barely able to leave their own solar system. They were waking up as masters of physics that the rest of the galaxy thought was impossible. Medical advances. Genetic diseases eliminated. Aging process slowed by 90%. Consciousness transfer technology perfected. How many people are ready to wake up. 12 billion humans are healthy and ready for revival. Another 3 billion are in extended hibernation by choice, waiting for specific conditions to be met. Minho nodded slowly. Humanity had survived their darkest hour and emerged stronger than ever. The galaxy had 300 years to get used to life without humans. They had built their civilizations, made their peace treaties, and divided up the stars among themselves. Now it was time to remind them that Earth was still here. Begin Phase 2 awakening, Minho ordered. The diplomatic corps and the ship crews, they have a lot of catching up to do. As the revival process began, Minho looked at the screens showing the peaceful galaxy beyond Earth's atmosphere. The aliens thought they were safe in their comfortable world. They had no idea that humanity was about to wake up and change everything. The long sleep was over. Captain Jinwoo had dreamed of this moment for months. Ever since waking up from the long sleep, he had imagined what it would be like to meet aliens again. Now, standing on the bridge of humanity's newest starship, he felt surprisingly calm. The ship itself was a marvel that still amazed him. The UES Taeguk was built using technology that hadn't existed when humans went to sleep. It was sleek and fast, powered by engines that could bend space itself. The hull was made from materials that could repair themselves, and the computers could think almost like humans. "Captain, we're approaching the edge of the Sol system," announced his pilot, a young woman named Hei-Wan. "Should I engage the stealth systems?" "No," Jinwoo said firmly. "We're not sneaking around. Turn on all our identification signals. Let them know we're here." Sujin, his communications officer, looked up from her station with worried eyes. "Sir, are you sure?" "We don't know how they'll react to seeing us again." Jinwoo smiled. "Exactly why we need to be open about this. If we hide, they'll think we're up to something bad." The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Through the main viewport, Jinwoo could see Earth growing smaller behind them. It looked beautiful now, blue and green and alive. Hard to believe it had been a burned wasteland. Just a few years ago, Contact Sujin suddenly called out. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace directly ahead of us. The main screen lit up, showing 5 alien vessels in a defensive formation. Jinwoo recognized the design from the old databases. They were Vexillian patrol ships, fast and well-armed. The lead ship was already sending a message. "Unknown vessel, you are in restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare to be." Boarded Sujin looked at Jinwoo. "Sir, their translator is having trouble with our language. Should I switch to Standard Galactic?" "Yes, but keep it simple," Jinwoo said. "Let's not confuse them more than necessary." The alien commander appeared on screen, and Jinwoo had to hide his surprise. The Vexillian looked exactly like the pictures. In their files, tall, with blue-gray skin and large black eyes. But there was something different about his expression. He looked shocked, almost afraid. "This is impossible," the alien said, his voice shaking. "Humans are extinct. Your world was destroyed centuries ago." Jinwoo stepped forward, making sure he was visible on the screen. "Hello, Commander. I'm Captain Jinwoo of the United Earthship Taeguk. I'm afraid reports of our extinction were wrong. We've been sleeping, not dead." The alien's eyes went wide, sleeping for 300 years? "It wasn't easy," Jinwoo admitted. "But we had help from our machines. They kept us safe while our world healed." Behind the alien commander, Jinwoo could see other crew members gathering around their screen. They were all staring at him like he was a ghost. He supposed that, in a way, he was. "You will power down your engines and submit to inspection," the commander said, trying to sound official.
Ow.
"The Galactic Concordat has jurisdiction over this space." Jinwoo frowned. Galactic Concordat. That's new. "When we went to sleep, there was no central government." "Many things have changed," the commander replied. "Your species has been gone for 3 centuries. The galaxy has moved on." Dr. Yoon-ji stepped into view beside Jinwoo. She was humanity's expert on alien life, one of the first people they had awakened. Her job was to help them understand how the galaxy had changed while they slept. "Commander, we understand this is surprising," she said calmly. "But we're not here to cause trouble. We just want to rejoin galactic society peacefully." The alien ships began moving into attack positions around them. Jinwoo watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Vexillians had weapons that could seriously damage his ship even with their new technology. "You will comply with our orders," the commander said, his voice harder now. "Power down immediately, or we will fire." Jinwoo looked at Dr. Yoonji. She nodded slightly and moved to a control panel. "I really hoped we wouldn't have to do this," she said softly. Her fingers danced over the controls, and immediately the alien ship's weapons went dark. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply turned off. The aliens' engines kept running, their life. Support systems worked perfectly, but every single weapon system had been disabled. The silence on the alien bridge was deafening. Jinwoo could see the commander staring at his weapons officer, who was frantically trying to restart their systems. "Your weapons are completely intact," Jinwoo said gently. "Dr. Yoonji just asked them to take a little nap. We'll turn them back on in a moment." "This is impossible," the commander whispered. "No one has technology like this. We've had 300 years to think about problems," Dr. Yoonji explained. "Our computers kept working while we slept. We solved a lot of things. That used to be impossible." She touched her controls again, and the alien weapons came back online. The tactical officers on the alien ships immediately confirmed that everything was working perfectly. The commander asked. Jinwoo smiled. "We learned to ask nicely. Your weapons didn't want to hurt anyone today, so they decided to rest." For a while, the alien commander sat back in his chair, looking stunned. Jinwoo could almost see the thoughts racing through his mind. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, but here they were with technology that could disable an entire fleet without firing a shot. "We'd like to talk," Jinwoo said. "There's a lot we need to learn about what's happened while we were gone." Ambassador Sumain had never been so nervous in her life. She stood in the waiting room outside the Galactic Concordat Council chambers, smoothing down her diplomatic uniform for the 10th time. Through the thick walls, she could hear the sound of angry voices arguing in dozens of different languages. "Ma'am, they're ready for you," said her aide. A young man named Jae-hook, who looked just as nervous as she felt. Sumin took a deep breath. "Remember, we're here to make friends, not enemies. No matter what they say, we stay calm and polite." Council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in circles that rose up toward the ceiling like a giant bowl. Representatives from over 200 alien species sat watching her as she walked to the center. Some looked curious, others looked afraid, and a few looked downright angry. High Counselor Vrector was the angriest of all. He was a Zalaxian, which meant he looked like a giant octopus with too many eyes. His tentacles were moving and rapid. Pattern Suman's translator told her this meant he was very upset. "Human," he said, making the word sound like a curse. "Your species was supposed to be extinct. Your return has caused panic across the galaxy. Markets are crashing, governments are falling, and trade routes are in chaos." Sumin bowed politely. "Honored Counselor, I apologize for any confusion our return has caused. We had no way to let you know we were still alive." "That's not the problem," Vrector snapped. "The problem is your technology. Our scientists say what you've shown us is impossible. You're violating the basic laws of physics." A murmur ran through the chamber. Sumin had expected this reaction. During the 3 days since first contact, human ships had been spotted all over the galaxy. Each appearance had caused a sensation because they were moving faster than anyone thought possible. "We've made some advances while we were away," Sumin said carefully. "We're happy to share our knowledge with peaceful species." Share. Another counselor stood up. This one was amorphic, a being made of living crystal that changed colors when it spoke. "You mean you'll give us your technology?" "Some of it." Sumin nodded. "We've developed cures for diseases that have plagued the galaxy for centuries. We have clean energy sources that could solve power shortages. We want to help." The chamber exploded into noise. Representatives were shouting at each other in languages the translator couldn't keep up with. Some species were excited about the offer of help, while others were suspicious of human motives. Vrector slammed his tentacles on his desk. "Silence. This is exactly what I mean about instability. The humans have been back for 3 days, and already they're disrupting our carefully balanced society. Perhaps, said a new voice, that's because our society needs disrupting. Everyone turned to look at Counselor Yektra, a elderly Saurid whose scales had turned silver with age. She rarely spoke in council sessions, but when she did, others listened. The Zerathi have been dying of genetic plague for 200 years, she continued. The morphic colonies have been rationing power for decades. The Outer Rim species can barely afford to trade because shipping costs are so high. If the humans can solve these problems, why should we refuse their help? Because we don't know what they want in return. Richter shouted. No species gives away advanced technology for free. There's always a price. Suman stepped forward. The only thing we want is to be part of the galactic community again. We've been alone for 3 centuries. We missed you, all the council argued. Something else was happening across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing in systems that hadn't seen visitors in years. Bringing help to those who needed it most, Engineer Dong Hyan materialized his ship in the Epsilon Centauri system, where a mining station had been struggling with power. Problems for 30 years. The station commander, a reptilian Saurid named Grixka, could barely believe his sensors when the human ship appeared. This is impossible, Grixka muttered, staring at his screens. How did you get here so fast? Our last supply ship took 6 months to reach us. And Haynes' face appeared on the communication screen, smiling cheerfully. We built better engines. Mind if we help with your power problems? You know about our power problems? Grixka asked suspiciously. Your distress signals have been bouncing around the galaxy for decades, Dong Hyan explained. We brought some new power cores that should solve your energy shortage. Within hours, Dong Hyan's crew had installed quantum batteries that would provide clean energy for centuries. They refused all payment, saying they were just happy to help. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy as human ships brought aid to struggling colonies and forgotten outposts. Back on the Concordat homeworld, the emergency session was still going strong. 3 species had already announced they were beginning direct negotiations with humanity, ignoring the Concordat's authority. We need to contain this situation immediately, Fractor declared. I propose a full economic blockade of human space. No trade, no communication, no contact of any kind. The vote was close, but the blockade passed. For exactly 3 days, the Concordat tried to isolate humanity, failed completely when member species began openly defying the order. It's desperate for the medical and technological advances humans offered by the end of the week. 12 species had formally withdrawn from the Concordat to join humanity's new alliance. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted, and there was no going back. Suman watched the chaos from her diplomatic suite, feeling both proud and worried. Humanity was definitely back, but whether that was good or bad for the galaxy remained. To be seen, Admiral Young-Su had been awake for only 2 weeks, but he already felt like he carried the weight of the entire galaxy on his shoulders. Standing in the command center of Earth's primary defense station, he watched the biggest fleet he had ever seen approaching their home system. How many ships? He asked his second-in-command, Commander Sang-Ho. 217, sir? Sang-Ho replied, his voice tight with worry. Every major species in the Concordat sent their best warships. This isn't a patrol or a warning. This is an invasion force. Young-Su nodded grimly. He had expected this day would come. The galaxy's leaders were terrified of humanity's return, and when people were scared, they often did stupid things. Trying to destroy an entire planet because they didn't understand its technology. Sir, incoming transmission from the fleet commander, reported communications officer Ji Hai. Put it on screen. The main display showed a Krillian general, her insect-like features twisted with determination. The Krillians were known for being fierce warriors, and this one looked ready for a fight. I am General Meek-Yong of the Concordat Defense Force, she announced. By order of the Galactic Council, you will surrender all advanced technology and submit to Concordat authority. You have 1 hour to comply. Young-Su stepped forward so she could see him clearly. General, I'm Admiral Young-Su of Earth's Defense. Command, we've already made our position clear to your government. Humanity seeks peaceful relations with all species, but we won't be surrendering anything. Then you've chosen war, Mikyung replied coldly. Your planet will be quarantined. Until you see reason. The transmission ended, leaving Young-Soo staring at the tactical display. 200 alien warships against Earth's small defense fleet. On paper, it looked hopeless. But Young-Soo knew something the aliens didn't. Humanity's 3 centuries of technological development had produced some very interesting surprises. Sir, they're moving into attack formation, Ji-hai reported. Energy readings are spiking across their entire fleet. Young-Soo looked around the command center at his young crew. Most of them had been career soldiers before the long sleep, but none of them had ever faced anything like this. The fate of humanity might depend on the next few minutes. All stations, prepare for combat, he ordered. Remember, we're not trying to kill anyone today. Our goal is to disable their ships without harming their crews. That might not be possible, Sang-ho said quietly. Some of those weapons could crack our planet open. Trust the technology, Young-Soo replied. Our ancestors built these. Defenses to protect us from the worst the galaxy could throw at us. Let's see if they were right. The Concordat fleet opened fire all at once. Particle beams that could melt asteroids, antimatter torpedoes that could destroy cities, and gravity bombs that could collapse space itself. All of it struck Earth's defensive barriers at the same moment, and nothing happened. The energy simply vanished, absorbed by invisible shields that surrounded the entire planet. The gravity bombs created ripples in space that smoothed out harmlessly. The antimatter torpedoes exploded against barriers that turned their destructive power into useful energy for Earth's power grid. Impossible, whispered Sang-ho, staring at the displays. They hit us with enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. Phase 2, Young-Soo ordered calmly. Disable their weapons and engines, leave life support and communications online. Around Earth, hidden defense platforms that looked like small asteroids suddenly came to life. They didn't fire visible weapons or launch missiles. Instead, they sent out invisible signals that spoke directly to the alien ship's computer systems. One by one, Concordat warships went dark. Their weapons powered down, their engines stopped, but their lights stayed on, and their air kept circulating. The crews were safe, but their ships were helpless. Sir, we're receiving thousands of transmissions from the alien fleet, Ji-hai reported. They single quotes confuse. Their ships are alive but won't respond to commands. Young-Soo activated the general communication channel. This is Admiral Young-Soo. To all Concordat vessels, your crews are safe and your ships are undamaged. We've simply asked your computers to take a little rest. Please prepare to be escorted to our medical facilities. Medical facilities. General Mikyun's voice crackled over the radio. What are you talking about? Our scans show that several members of your crew are suffering from serious health problems, Young-Soo explained. We'd like to help fix those. Before you go home, within hours, alien crew members were being transported to human medical stations throughout the solar system. The humans had detected everything: genetic diseases, old injuries, degenerative conditions that alien medicine couldn't cure. General Mikyung found herself in a clean, white medical bay, lying on a comfortable bed while Dr. Woo-jin worked at a control panel nearby. She felt strange. Her head was clearer than it had been in years, and the constant pain in her joints had disappeared. "What did you do to me?" she demanded. Dr. Woo-jin looked up from his work, smiling gently. "We fixed your neural degeneration. Your species has been struggling with this condition for thousands of years, but the solution is actually quite simple once you understand how brain chemistry works." "Why?" Mikyung asked, genuinely confused. "We came here to destroy you." No, Woo-jin replied. "But you were in pain, and we could help. That's what people do for each other." Mikyung stared at him. In her species culture, enemies were destroyed, not healed. The idea of helping someone who had just tried to kill you was completely alien to her. "I don't understand your people," she said finally. "That's okay," Woo-jin said. "Maybe that's something we can work on together." Across the galaxy, news broadcasts showed footage of the battle, if it could even be called a battle. But humanity had faced the largest military force in galactic history, and defeated it without firing a single shot or killing a single enemy. Then they had healed their attackers and sent them home. The footage was watched by every sentient being in known space. Some were amazed, some were frightened, but all of them understood one thing. Humanity was unlike any species they had ever encountered. The galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Borum had given many speeches in her life, but never one like this. She stood at the center of the new Galactic Assembly, looking out at the most diverse gathering of intelligent life forms the universe had ever seen. 412 different species had sent representatives, and they were all looking. At her, the assembly hall itself was a marvel of cooperation. Built in orbit around Earth, it had been designed by teams from dozens of worlds. The crystalline architects had grown the basic structure from living mineral, while the gaseous communes had provided the atmospheric systems that let everyone breathe comfortably. Even the lighting had been carefully adjusted so that creatures from dark worlds and bright worlds could all see clearly. "Friends," Bjorn began, her voice carried by translators to every corner of the massive chamber. "6 months ago, most of you thought humanity was extinct. Today, we stand together as partners in the most important work any of us will ever do." In the front row, she could see General Meekyung, the Krillian commander who had led the attack on Earth. The general looked completely different now, healthier, younger, more relaxed. The neural treatment she had received had not only cured her degenerative disease, but it also removed decades of accumulated stress and pain. "We have already accomplished so much together," Barm continued. "The Zirithi genetic plague that killed millions has been eliminated. The energy crisis affecting the Outer Rim colonies has been solved. 17 species that were facing extinction now have healthy, growing populations." She paused, looking around the chamber. Representatives were nodding, some wiping away tears of joy. The past months had been like a golden age for the galaxy. "But this is only the beginning," Bjorn said, her voice growing stronger. "We have bigger challenges ahead of us. We're going to tackle aging, so that every person in the galaxy can live as long as they choose. We're going to solve poverty, so that no one goes hungry while others have plenty. And yes, we're even going to challenge death itself." A murmur ran through the assembly. What she was talking about sounded impossible, even by human standards. "Some of you are thinking this sounds like fantasy," Bjorn smiled. 6 months ago, you would have said faster than light travel without exotic matter was fantasy too. Our computers have been working on these problems for 3 centuries. We know they can be solved. Captain Tejo watched the speech from his ship's observation lounge, surrounded by a group of children from a dozen different worlds. His own daughter, 8-year-old So-Young, was playing a complex game with a young Sored whose scales changed color when he was excited. "Daddy, why are all the grown-ups so worried about the future?" So-Young asked, looking up from her game. "Crystal says his people used to be scared all the time, but now they're happy." Tejo smiled and knelt down beside her. The children didn't understand the politics or the fear that had gripped the galaxy when humanity returned. Friends from other worlds was perfectly normal. "The grown-ups are learning something new," he explained. "They're learning that working together is better than being afraid of each other." Through the observation window, he could see Earth spinning slowly below them. The planet looked nothing like it had when he was young. Where once there had been scars from the great solar storms, now there were parks and cities and vast green spaces. Human settlements stood next to alien cultural centers, and spacecraft from hundreds of worlds filled the orbital zones. His first officer, Commander Jung Min, joined him at the window. "Hard to believe it's only been 6 months, she said quietly. "Sometimes I think we're moving too fast," Tejo admitted. "The galaxy has had 3 centuries to develop its own way of doing things. Maybe we should slow down. Let them adjust gradually." Jung Min shook her head. "Have you seen the medical reports from the refugee camps on Altair 7? Or the starvation statistics from the Rim colonies? Every day we wait, people die from problems we know how to solve." She was right, of course. Humanity's return had revealed just how much the galaxy had been struggling. Wars, diseases, energy shortages, social problems, issues that had seemed unsolvable were being fixed one by human technology and alien cooperation. The children understand it better than we do, Taeho said, watching Soyoung teach her alien friend a Korean counting song. To them, this is just normal life. Down in the assembly hall, Bioram was finishing her speech. The galaxy thought it was safe when humanity disappeared, she said. In a way, they were right. They were safe from war, from conquest, from all the terrible things that powerful species sometimes do to weaker ones. She looked around the chamber one more time, making eye contact with representatives from worlds that had once been enemies. But they weren't safe from loneliness, from sickness, from the slow heat death of the universe itself. Now, working together, we can be safe from those things too. We can build a galaxy where every species thrives, where every individual has the chance to reach their full potential, where death and suffering are choices rather than inevitabilities. The applause started slowly, then built into a roar that shook the station. Representatives from hundreds of worlds stood and cheered, not just for humanity, but for the future they were all building together. Outside, Earth continued its ancient rotation, no longer the sleeping tomb of a dead species, but the beating heart of a galactic civilization that was just beginning to discover what it could become. Humanity had awakened, and they had awakened everyone else along with them.